Hey there, hello there. It's Jeff Cutter Donner welcoming you to another Degrassi poll list. Now, this is not my creation. This is kphl1's, kphl1's job. As you know, I did a kphl thing about the mental storyline, the mental health storylines and ranking them and all that. And I'm like, shit, I should have added on to that. Piggyback on kphl. But of course, too little, too late. But I've decided to do this one. Now, I found the poll about the worst and best boyfriend. And, of course, Kay Felt, again, was the one who did this. So, hopefully, Kay Felt will forgive me for using, I think it's a her. I hope it's a girl. Thing. So, a lot of people commented the worst boyfriend and worst girlfriend award. Now, there will be a change by me. Okay, so let's talk about the worst boyfriends. Now, one of the boyfriends on the list I don't agree with. And so I'm going to replace him with another one who I really don't have feelings about. Who was a terrible girlfriend, a boyfriend. So someone said about Dave, being one of the worst boyfriends. I don't think he was that bad, especially to Allie. He wanted to be with Allie, and Allie was just getting off being with Leo, and why Allie was with Leo in the first place, I don't freaking know. So Dave is off the list. All right, so let's see here. Okay, so my boyfriend, the boyfriend replacement will be number 4. All right, here we go. Okay, so number 6, now with me switching off. Number 6 was Miles with Maya and Tristan. Why he's a bad boyfriend? Well, I think in a sense that, he kind of played Maya like a fiddle, in a sense. Season 13 and 14, especially, Miles was not that great to Zoe either, in a sense. And of course, Maya got upset thinking that Zoe swiped Miles from underneath Maya's nose, but Zoe said that Maya got Miles under the nose, swiped under her nose. So, of course, the back and forth between Maya and Zoe. But Miles seemed to not be liking Maya so much, especially season 13. I mean, season 14 was different, that Maya was with Miles. But one of my unpopular opinions from days gone by is that, was Maya with Miles out of love or just pure concern after she was having visions of Cam's problems manifested on Miles? I say that Maya was not that good in season 14. I mean, she still had the Cam problems. She asked for help, psychiatric help and all that, knowing that Cam was just getting in her head and all that. But she still protected Miles from getting in trouble with his being under influence of drugs and crashing his car into what was Dallas's girlfriend's car. And Miles having his father bail him out of things and helping Maya out. Miles and Tristan, I think Tristan was the worst of the two of them. Tristan seemed to be biphobic in a sense, telling Miles you can't have both. You have to be either gay or straight and all that. I think Tristan was just worried about losing Miles if he was bisexual. I mean, Miles did cheat on Tristan with Lola, but that was when Tristan was in that coma. But Tristan did forgive Miles for his indiscretion, even though I would not have done that. But anyway, yeah, Miles and Tristan broke off. Tristan said that Miles is better off without him. In a sense, yes, but a lot of people are anti-Tristan, so what do you expect? Okay, so number 5 in the boyfriend list is Drew. Now, I'm doing it based on the votes of the thing, but anyway. Drew is number 5 with Katie, Bianca, and Zoe. It seems to me that Drew was just in for the long run. I mean, I would have almost said Drew with Becky and Claire too, because, Drew thought he got Claire pregnant in season 14, was willing to stay with her at the risk of losing Becky. But the fact of the matter is that, Drew and Becky were not a real fit. Drew was wanting Becky, and Becky wasn't really into Drew as much. And Drew got in trouble for the promposal on Becky that subsequently had him stay home from prom until his mother goaded him into helping the prom after Dallas screwed up the prom date with a boat. And Pill trying to throw Drew under the bus as an example for why people shouldn't cross her path. But of course, that led to Pill's downfall in a sense, because I don't know if she knew that Audra was part of the school board, and she could. I don't think she was that higher up, but I think she could influence the school board, say that pills are dangerous, even if they wanted to get rid of, even if they got rid of pill because Simpson was not guilty on those Degrassi nudes things. That it just added a layer of protection and all that. But anyway, Drew was decent to Katie, but Drew I think got scared and wanted to marry Katie and wanted to be with Bianca too. I think he was just scared of trouble. And of course, Drew ended up living with Fiona because his mother didn't want Drew to waste his life and all that. Drew and Bianca. I personally think that Bianca was the worst of the two of them because it seemed that Bianca was playing Drew like a fiddle and Drew was just blindly in love with her and she just used her mob connections to scour him. But that's just me. So at number, I'm going to say number 4. This is close, but number 4 is the guy I'm substituting for Dave, and that's Sig, being a bad boyfriend to Maya, especially Maya. And to a lesser extent, Esme. Here's why. So Sig was in love with Maya in season 12, but was upset that Maya was in love with Cam, and Cam was in love with Maya. So Sig managed to prod Cam into a suspension and accidentally told Cam to buzz off, saying, if you love Maya, get out of her life. I think Sig was just trying to win Maya back, and he screwed up. And then when Cam killed himself, Sig hated himself. He said that, why did I do this? Why did I hurt this guy? I just wanted Maya so much. And, Sig did confess to Maya that it was his fault, and Maya brushed it off. I mean, they're saying, why is Maya doing this and all that? She should be concerned. I think the concern is basically due to the fact that, Cam killed himself selfishly, and he should have came for help. I understand Maya in that situation, but for me, Sig and Maya, the only time Sig wanted to be with Maya is if Maya was with someone like Miles or Cam and all that. It just seemed to be that Sig, when he was with Maya, wasn't really that interested in Maya, but only when Maya was with someone else, he was. I compare Sig to Veronica from the Archie comics and all that. I hate the Riverdale show, because, like the TV show, because that mother is such a, Betty's mom is such a fucking bitch. Believe it. Anyhow, I think that, Sig is like Veronica because Veronica in the comics, when she's with Archie, when she gets Archie to herself, mostly after Betty moves on from Archie with Adam, Veronica decides to date someone else, even though Archie is willing to be with Veronica, saying that, screw Betty, I want to be with Veronica. And Veronica said that, maybe I don't want Archie anymore because it's not worth it if I get Archie. So basically, Veronica is just toying with Archie in the comics. And I think Sig was toying with Maya and all that. I wonder how much Sig was involved with, Sig being with Maya and knowing that Maya still had the psychological troubles with Cam. I wonder if Sig did something, if Sig was a bad guy in a sense. Anyway, yeah. And with Esme, Sig was in a triangle with Esme and Frankie, and it was weird how all that. I know Sig went to the prom with Maya. It was not an accident and all that. And Maya was trying to get Sig to get closer to Esme. But the fact of the matter is, Esme blew her top at Sig, injured him not once but twice, and finally got the psychological help. And then Sig and Maya ran for California. I think it's unfair to Esme that, Sig was probably running away from Esme's problems. Anyway, number 3 on the boyfriend list was KC. What he did to Claire and Jenna. Well, I don't think he was a bad boyfriend to Claire. I think it was just Jenna being a dick. Anyway, Casey and Claire were in the gifted class together, and Claire fell for Casey. The Degrassi writers were trying to make this new iteration of Degrassi kind of like Next Gen, in the sense that, the Claire and Casey pairing was going to be akin to Emma and Sean. But unlike Emma and Sean, Claire and Casey was just a one-time thing until Jenna stole Casey from Claire's clutches. I think Claire wanted to change Casey for the better and kind of learned that she wants to help Casey out in a sense. But Jenna swipes Casey from underneath Claire. And, they have a relationship. Casey manages to get Jenna pregnant by accident, I think. And then Jenna realized that story on Teen Star when she's in a teen reality show. But, well, Shantae was the one who told her that. Casey was upset that Jenna said that she was pregnant, which meant that Casey was not in good standing with his mom. However, Casey's mom did ask Jenna to stay with her and Casey because, it's not fair that Jenna has to raise the child alone because her family is distant from her and she's living with her brother. Unfortunately, Casey has eyes on Marisol for some reason and blames Jenna for a lot of things. You told me to play basketball. What the hell, Casey? I mean, Jenna has a lot of issues having to raise the baby kind of alone and all that. She can't even go to school. All that. She has to take care of the baby while Casey gets to go to school and has eyes for Marisol. I mean, Casey left the scene. He and his mom left because his dad was out of prison and was going to track him down. So they needed to leave right away. But Jenna deserved better. And Casey just wasn't the right guy. Number 2 is Peter, who was a bad boyfriend to Emma, Mia, and Darcy in a sense. Peter was introduced in season 5 as a boy that Emma was willing to be with. And of course, Emma saying that this is the first boy I've been interested in until Hurricane Sean blew it through my emotional trail park. Of course, I did an unpopular opinion on that line in season 5. And I basically said, well, was she complaining about, Sean blowing through her emotions after Time Stands Still? Or was she still thinking about Sean? They broke up in season 3 and Emma was with Chris. And it's like the writers forgot that probably figured Emma was with Chris. Part of me thinks that Emma was only with Chris to try to stick it to Sean, who left her for Amy. Sean left for the Candy Bandits. And Emma didn't have... And once Sean stopped being in the Candy Bandits and, was with Ellie, I think Emma realized that she didn't have to make Sean jealous. And Sean was a good guy after all. And, got rid of Chris. I don't know who broke up with who. But I think Emma did break up with Chris because she wants to be back with Chris. But only to prevent Chris from gaining liberty. And that causes a lot of issues. Meanwhile, Peter, wants to go after Manny for some reason. Manny decides to tell Peter that Emma's the one who's in love. And then Peter manages to get her drunk and then flash her breasts. I'm going to be famous. Peter then decides to blackmail Manny with that because Manny broke his camera, a $3,000 camera. And Peter says, you give me the money for the camera, this video stays hidden. Unfortunately, Manny can't get the money in cash. And Peter just releases it to the school all willy-nilly. Emma's first upset with Manny, but then finds out that, Manny was the victim and takes Manny into her own home. Peter and Manny are not a thing anymore. Peter gets detentions for what he did. I mean, Hatzalakos was not too strict on him. Why? I don't know. Anyway, Peter dates Emma, but only because Emma wants to be with Peter. And sticks it to Manny. I don't know why. I just don't know why Emma would rather be with Peter. As is, Emma and Peter were good buddies. Yeah, right. Emma was kind of toxic for Emma, especially after having an eating disorder because she's worried about things at home. Like she's helping Manny lose weight for a role and gets the eating disorder and all that. People forget that Manny asked Emma for help trying to lose weight and all that. I think she didn't know that Emma was going to take it so seriously, but still, I mean, it was kind of awkward. So Peter was kind of bad towards Emma, like a bad influence on Emma. I mean, season 6 was fine, but then Peter, for some dumb reason, decides to try to destroy Sean after Sean comes back in Emma's life. I think Peter was just worried that Emma was going to choose Sean over him. And so Peter tried to make Emma's choice significant by planting drugs in Sean's locker. Sean gets blamed for it. Emma doesn't help Sean out. And then Peter gets forced into a drag race by Jay. They both fight for it. A pedestrian gets hit. Peter gets community service for his role. Sean goes to jail. And the fact of the matter is that Emma stills with Peter and protects Peter and all that. Unfortunately for Peter, Jay and Manny team up to try to teach Emma a lesson. And, Emma realizes that when Peter put the mask in her locker, she didn't tell him her locker combination. And Peter says, it's easy when your mom's principal. And then Emma puts two together and realizes that Peter put the drugs in Sean's locker to keep the relationship going. Bad move as Emma decides to break off with Peter and be with Sean. I think Emma was going to be with Peter if Peter didn't interfere. So, yeah, the answer was simple. With Peter putting the drugs in Sean's locker, it drove Emma to Sean. Bad luck, Peter. So then he lusts after Darcy. I think in a sense he knows about Darcy's Christian values and be part of the friendship club and figures that, you know, he could try to get Darcy to help him be a better boyfriend. Unfortunately, he manages to get a middle-aged creep named Adams to look at Darcy's awkward photos and all that. And of course, Peter gets no repercussions, as it seems. But Peter does not give up on Darcy and manages to get Darcy back, saying that his home life sucks and needs Darcy to help him. Of course, the relationship is in secret until Peter forces Darcy to say that we're boyfriend and girlfriend. Hatzalakos is okay with it, but Darcy's parents are not. Well, I know Peter's a rap sheet and all that. But, you know, Darcy wants to be with Peter. Peter does help Darcy get over her rape and all that. After all, Peter and Darcy were on that ski weekend together. At least he did something, but then Darcy goes to Africa for some reason. Peter then grabs onto Mia, trying to grab onto something. I mean, he's emancipated though too. Remember, season 8 is when he got his emancipation from his mother because he didn't want to go to Regina with his mom, and his dad didn't want him around. But Peter got an apartment thanks to his dad. So Peter finds out about Mia, finds out about Isabella because, you know, Peter has a half-sister named Angel and, you know, a stepsister named Angel. And then basically, you know, he likes children. No big deal. But then Mia decides to go model. Peter tries to get into Mia's good graces by being in Mia's inner circle, but he fails miserably. Mia then takes Isabella away from Peter in a sense, and then goes to France. And Peter is left all by himself until Hatzalakos moves back in, I think, to deal with Peter. And Peter doesn't really have a relationship with somebody else. Kind of stupid, don't you think? And number 1 is Craig with 438 votes out of that 1,100 plus votes in the worst boyfriend award. Craig, I think, could have been number 2 behind Peter. I know I said Craig should be hated more than anyone else. Craig is overrated. But I mean, what he did in season 3, especially playing on Ashley and Manny's emotions, was terrible. I mean, Craig was in a relationship with Ashley, and then Craig decides to cheat on Ashley with Manny. And it's weird how Manny told Emma to go after Chris when Emma thought that Chris had a girlfriend. It's like, you know, very hypocritical. And yes, Manny was being hypocritical in season 3 to Emma and all that. And then Manny and Emma stopped being friends for a while. And then, all of a sudden, you know, Craig ends up impregnating Manny. He tries to maneuver the things. Ashley and Manny both break up with him, but Craig wants to do the right thing with Manny. Ashley breaks up that dynamic by saying to everyone in school that Craig got Manny pregnant. Ashley was in the right for that. I mean, I would be as furious too. You know, Craig is upset that Manny wants to get an abortion, saying that, you know, we shouldn't do that. Now, I just wish Craig had told Manny why he wanted this baby. Because, you know, his family's gone. His parents are both dead. Well, his mom died after leaving Craig's father for Joey. And then, you know, that's who Joey was grieving over in the series premiere. And then, of course, Albert being Craig's abusive dad, who I think was so mad about Julia leaving him, he had no outlet for his anger other than Craig. And, you know, he died in an accident, and Craig feels compelled by this. And then all of a sudden, Craig, you know, wants Manny. Manny said no. Emma, for some reason, decides to step in for Manny, even though that she's upset with Manny made an abortion, but realizes that Manny is her best friend, and I'd be furious. Although, that gets me thinking, it's like, why did Emma say that? I thought Emma and Manny were not friends anymore. Like, completely friends anymore. I feel like Emma was upset. Maybe she didn't think she had friends, so she needed Manny back. So she blinked first. People tell me that they were friends beforehand, but I'm like, I just don't get it. Anyway, good old Craig. Yeah. But Craig is upset with Ashley. Ashley writes this song destroying Craig's thing, and Craig is upset. But then he decides to write an apology song, and Ashley falls for him. Ashley should be blamed more so because, Craig's stupid apology song. Craig had troubles with Ashley and Manny. I don't think he was a good boyfriend to Ellie either. I think Ellie had a crush on Craig, but Craig had a girlfriend and had drug problems. But yeah, Craig was not fair to Ashley in season 4 after Ashley's dad gets married, that crashing the wedding because Ashley wouldn't love him so much to marry him. Craig has problems with his bipolar thing, and then of course Ashley leaves for England, and Craig goes off the rails. So there. All right. So that's the worst boyfriend. What about the other side of the coin? The worst girlfriend. Once I get this thing up and running, aha! I'm actually surprised that this poll was at the same time as the worst boyfriend, and it only got 271 votes. It got less votes for this poll than Craig's winning poll. I don't know why. And I will technically, yeah, I will go to no changes. I don't think there's a worse girlfriend. I would say Maya for top 6, but Maya wasn't really that bad of a girlfriend. So number 6 on the list, according to kphl, was with 15 votes, Allie, who was with Johnny, Drew, Dave, and Dallas as a girlfriend. Allie just seemed to want to be with a boy and all that. And Johnny basically played her off. Like, Allie's racy photo was accidentally shared by Johnny in front of the whole school and all that. It's like, what was Allie thinking about? Especially with Johnny. I mean, Johnny's a troublemaker ever since season 6. And then, Allie wanted to be with Drew in season 10 and made out with him in the boiler room and caused a lot of problems. But Audra caused a fuss, putting Allie in a special seminar about women's bodies and all that. And Allie is so ashamed of herself that her parents pulled her from Degrassi, put her in a private school, but then Allie gets blamed for something. And the parents just don't listen to Allie, so Allie runs away, angry with her parents not listening to her. Sav tries to get his parents to realize that Allie was right the whole time. Allie bumps into Johnny, who tells her not to run away from her problems because Johnny had the problems with the fact that he was witness to Drake Lampley stabbing JT because of some stupid incidents. Allie would then go in with Dave and Dallas. I think the Vandaris like Dallas still too. And Dallas was in their house. I think Vandaris were a billet family. That means that if you're in the junior leagues and you're far from home, you live with a family to stay in that general area to play hockey. Like, there's Kitchener Ranger players who come from different parts of Ontario and beyond, and then they go into Kitchener and stay with a billet family so that they can play and train in Kitchener. So yeah, I think Allie was a decent girlfriend. But I think that she was bad to Leo. I mean, Leo was abusive to Allie, yeah. But Allie freaking protected this guy, like, so many times, and she got him from France to Canada. I mean, how Allie avoided charges is beyond me. I think her parents fixed the problem. But, I mean, Allie should not have been with Leo in the first place. Why? I don't know. According to the poll, at number 5 is Paige with 16 votes because she was a bad girlfriend to Spinner, Matt Olander, Alex Griffin. I don't think Paige was that bad towards Spinner and all that. It's the other way around. I think Spinner was a terrible boyfriend to Paige, more so than Paige to Spinner. The fact of the matter is that Paige got raped by Dean and, kind of scared him off. But then in season 3, she's with Spinner, and they both are upset over the fact that they let Terry be abused by Rick. They should have made sure that Terry and Rick were not together because of Rick's bad tendencies. And Paige, in a sense, is blamed for Rick's behavior in a way. I don't know if that could be number 1, but Paige is also a reason for his problems. Mostly because of the fact that Paige, like in Rick's mind, Paige is just spewing false news about himself to Terry and basically forcing Terry to choose between Paige's clique and being with Rick. And that Rick hates the fact that Terry hangs on to Paige and all that. Still is around Paige and Hazel because they're poisoned in her mind. I mean, I understand where Rick gets that from. But anyway, Paige and Spinner both are upset over the fact that Rick is coming back to Degrassi. But before that, Paige has to deal with the fallout with Dean's rape. Dean being called not guilty because of lack of evidence, and the fact that the trial actually should have taken place earlier to make things fresher. Paige was at a crossroads. She decides to use Spinner's car to crash into Dean's car on purpose. She confesses to everything and vows to pay Spinner back for his car, but Spinner unfortunately has Google eyes for Manny when Paige is working her damn tail off to provide for Spinner. Paige should have blown it at Spinner, saying that your car is not being paid for. I'm withholding your money. I personally think that, that's just pathetic. And then Paige and Olander. I mean, yeah, Olander was bad towards Paige and all that. But, it was sickening to me to see Paige protect Olander from Hatzalako's and Snake's wrath. And, she had an attraction to this guy. And then all of a sudden, she wants to protect this guy. Fortunately for Paige, in a sense that Olander actually decided to tell on himself and get himself in trouble. I mean, protecting Paige, saying that, he was the thing. And the teacher-student relationship was terrible. And then Olander comes back to see Paige after being in the Yukon and breaks up with her and gives her drugs. Paige is upset, and Paige finds Alex. They were polar opposite. Alex was the bad girl, and Paige was a queen bee. But then, somehow they fall in love with each other. And that shocked me because I didn't think Paige had any tendencies towards being with girls. I mean, it's not unfair. It's just the fact that, I just wish that we kind of saw Paige going towards Alex. It seemed that she was going straight to girls for no reason. But one of my theories is that Paige couldn't trust guys. I mean, after all, season 4 brought her the shame of being with Olander, which was an illegal relationship between student and teacher. Spinner basically breaking up with her to be with Manny, and, Dean getting off scot-free with that rape. So Paige couldn't trust guys. So Paige was with Alex. They had their issues. I think the class system really ruined it. Paige was treating Alex terribly. Alex was treating Paige well, but for some reason, Paige just didn't think Alex figured out her plans and dumped Alex off. And then Paige was with Griffin, but Griffin announces he was HIV positive for something, or AIDS. Something like that. And Paige didn't know. And Paige was scared that she had the disease. But I don't think she did, because they would have said something. Yeah. Number 4 on the list, and by an inch, was Emma. Although I would probably put her in number 3. But anyway, with 48 votes, it's going to be Emma. I mean, Emma had 5 relationships. Well, relationships with 5 different guys on the show. And it seemed that she came out worse on every end. Of course, she had eyes for Sean in season 1, but Sean was so preoccupied in his rivalry with Jimmy that he accidentally knocks Emma over during a fight. Emma breaks up with Sean. Emma doesn't get interested in any guys, has no feelings for other guys until Sean pops up out of nowhere during Spike and Snake's wedding, and Emma realizes she's terrible and all that for trying to fix the marriage, to not have Spike abort her new sibling. And Sean says that, I'm proud of you. Sean helps Emma out, especially in the Fight for Your Right protest, saying that he was with Emma the whole way. Unfortunately, Sean decides to join the Candy Bandits instead of being around Emma, who had her own problems in season 3 with Snake's leukemia and a new sibling. She was doing all she could, and Sean just broke up with her. It wasn't Emma's fault about Sean and all that. Emma wanted Sean to get in trouble for stealing stuff from Degrassi. And in a sense, she did her job, and Chris took her to task over it, saying that Emma didn't want justice for Snake and his missing laptop. It was just to destroy Sean for moving on from her so much. Emma got lucky Chris came back. I wouldn't have blamed Chris one bit if Emma had screwed herself out of a boyfriend. So Emma and Chris are a pair until before season 4 in the summer that they broke up. Emma decides that she doesn't want Chris being Liberty because she figures that people will taunt her for the fact that Chris is with Liberty instead of her. For some strange reason, she thought that. And, of course, Manny blasts her all that. And Emma asked for it. Unfortunately, Emma lost, Chris. Emma lost everybody. who didn't want to be her friends. She was left all alone with Rick. Rick had feelings for Emma. Emma basically said that she only protected Rick out of sympathy and realizing that she made a giant boo-boo. So Emma tries to avoid Rick's creepy advances, and then Emma gets almost shot by Rick. And then Emma falls for Sean because Sean saved her butt from Rick's gun by killing him, accidentally, of course. And then is upset when Sean goes back to Wasaga Beach instead of being with her. I wonder if she knew that Sean was with Ellie. But the fact of the matter is, Emma didn't have a boyfriend. She went with Jay in the ravine, but I think it was just a link to get to Sean because, she was still upset over Sean leaving her high and dry and all that. And Emma didn't really have any feelings for boys. And then season 5 comes along when she has her thing with Peter, which I mentioned in Peter being the worst boyfriend. I mean, Emma has some fault in this whole Pema thing because Emma was protecting Peter in the episode after the street race. It's like, what the fuck, Emma? He's a terrible guy. Thankfully, though, Jay and Manny get to her. And Emma breaks up with Peter. So Emma goes with Sean. And then, Sean leaves for the military. And Emma's upset and thinks about using a fake pregnancy to get Sean back in her life. But thought she couldn't do it. I don't think she could have pulled it off. So she didn't. And, Sean and Emma were broken up. Emma was upset over Sean not talking to her in season 7. She just wanted something to hang on. And then somehow she managed to get it under Damien's claws. And they were boyfriend and girlfriend. Not for a whole lot of episodes. Sean did come back for one episode to deal with Emma. And, provide closure. Emma then dumps Damien off. It wasn't Damien's fault. I mean, it was Damien's fault for, cheating on Emma with Liberty. And Emma realizes that she can't be that petty. I think realizing that the last time she really got petty was her losing Manny and Liberty as friends and easily being under Rick's clutches. And trying to be in Paige's clique. But anyhow. And then Emma's with with Spitter, which was very random and all that. They had that episode, Degrassi Goes Manhattan, and then Emma marries Spinner, and they're somehow together. Bad luck. Number 3 on the list is Becky. Although, I don't really think Becky was that bad of a girlfriend. But that's what kphl's voting was, right? 49 votes. Her relationships with Adam, Drew, and Jonah. I mean, it's bad enough, like, Becky dating Drew, even though that, Becky dated his brother, or his trans brother. I mean, gosh. Becky seemed to be a little bit of a bitch. I mean, she was all about Christianity and all that. And then all of a sudden, Jenna told her ways are wrong and Becky is being a bitch and all that. Becky stops being a Christian soldier, if you will. She gets a lot of flack from her parents, especially for the fact that Becky didn't defend Luke from scoring after Zoe got raped. But the parents obviously couldn't throw Becky out because, they were afraid Becky would talk and they would be in deep trouble. I think that Becky should have told the courts about her parents trying to put pressure on her, and especially Luke. Because I think that they could have got a fine or something, and especially her dad might have been stripped of his priesthood because he was a minister. But yeah, Becky wanted to be with Adam. I know it was weird being with a transgendered person and all that, knowing that Adam was a female to male, and Becky's parents being upset with the fact Becky wanted to be with Adam. But Becky almost went to conversion therapy, but was pulled away from Jenna, saying that, you can't let this happen. I think in a way her parents were upset with her. I know they were upset with her leaving Luke high and dry after the rape trial, but I think they also hated on Becky for the fact that she was protecting Adam, who was a trans person. Of course, Adam dies because he texted and drove, which was stupid to kill Adam off that way. And Becky, Becky was upset with Adam dying and all that. Adam had a thing with Imogen too. But, of course, Imogen didn't tell Becky about Adam. I think Imogen left it high and dry because she didn't want Becky to get hurt. I don't know about the Becky-Jonah dynamic. I know Becky was chased after by Drew, but, yeah, that's kind of weird. All right, so number 2 with 66 votes was Jane, after what she did to Spinner. I mean, Jane and Spinner was a pretty good pairing in my book. And why Jane decided to cheat on Spinner, Was it with Declan? I can't remember. I didn't really watch a lot of that Degrassi Goes Manhattan thing. But Jane broke up with Spinner, and Spinner was upset over losing Jane, and also the fact that the dot burned because of Emma using a sandwich maker incorrectly. Man, Emma, you're sinking down to that level? Why? But anyway, Spinner ends up falling in love with Emma. They get married in Niagara Falls. They almost want to cancel it, but then realize they're in love with each other and they should stay with each other. Jane tries her best to try to stop Spinner renewing his vows with Emma, but then realizes, well, Manny tells Jane that Spinner's happy. You don't want to ruin his happiness, now do you? And Jane says, no, I don't. So Spinner and Emma end up married. Although I wish Jane did break up Spinner and Emma because it didn't make sense. I mean, I know Jane was going through a lot of shit because her dad molested her, and her brother didn't believe her and all that. But yeah, I guess it was because they hate on the fact that Spinner chose Emma. Anyway, number 1 with 77 votes was Jack. What she did to Imogen. I don't know much about the Jack and Imogen pairing, I must admit. But the fact of the matter is that, it was wrong. I mean, Jack may have used Imogen to her advantage. And Jack did not want to tell, or Jacqueline, I should say, didn't want to tell people that she and Imogen were a partner, were a pair. I think she really wanted to hide it from her parents. Well, they were like Christian parents. They were just parents that just didn't understand. And I think that Jack leaving Imogen high and dry and all that was not good for Imogen. It lost some luster, and Imogen wanted to be with Fiona. And of course, Fiona graduated and left Imogen high and dry, and Imogen chose Jack. Why? I don't know. Yeah, Jack was terrible. I don't know much about the relationship, so I'm not going to really comment about it. But anyway, thanks for watching this worst boyfriend and worst girlfriend talk from me. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good day.